Hi, Lisa here with Dawn again, and we are doing part 2 for JoDee Neil, author and attorney. Wow, if you did not listen to the first one, you need to, because we are picking up where we left off. So, JoDee, you have gone through this experience, you've written this book, now you are listening to stories of other survivors. Just what is next?
What is next? I mean, my dream would be to have a network TV show where I talk about current events and interview survivors. Valerie Bertinelli just came out with a book about what she went through. I would love to, I'd love to take Outcries and do what I've done in the courtroom, which is hold that moment and guide the jury, the audience, through really a horror. In a way that they feel in their soul that what this person experienced is the truth. And so being able to take what happens in the courtroom to a much larger scale would be truly a dream come true.
Yeah, and you talked about we get to the point where we just close our eyes, and there's a distraction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what do we need to do to listen?
What a great question.
How do we live through that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So what I found I really saw this in jury selection. 120-ish people come into the courtroom, and I was the prosecutor at the time. You may have 45 minutes, you may have 2 hours to talk to everyone about how they may or may not be qualified to serve as a juror on these kinds of cases. And the minute you say what type of case it is, this is a crimes against children case, sexual assault of a child, people start freaking out. You see people,
right?
You see shaking. Sometimes people raise their hands, say, I can't do this. I have children, I can't. And, you gotta wield that pain and really get things settled down and figure out, okay, who actually will not qualify to serve on a jury, and how do we take this reaction, this pain, and make it into something valuable and important, and keep these people on the jury, because we need the people who care
to make them want to listen,
to
have the courage to listen.
Yeah. And so through doing that, I developed a skill set and really was able to identify that it's a cognitive protective mechanism that we have. And this is when I really realized that it was directly related to the prevalence. Sometimes the jurors would say, I can't be on this kind of case because I was sexually abused by my uncle when I was 8 years old for 3 years, and I've never told anyone about it until right now.
Oh my gosh.
So there would be outcries in the courtroom in real time, and all these clues, everything that I've done in my life has brought me to the point where I can see on a cultural level, on a humanity level, that we feel so much pain when we see, notice these things happening, that we run. Mm-hmm. We will distract ourselves by scrolling. We might use substances to escape. Our reaction is to run, to protect ourselves. Very much reptile brain, kind of fight or flight. But that is where we lose our ability to protect our children. And, there's nothing about what I'm doing that looks fun from the outside.
No, it doesn't. It looks really
hard.
Hard.
Yeah.
Very hard.
Well, look at the consequences.
Right.
By not having these discussions, and by how can it be that I'm writing the first book on this when everything has been written on to death at this point, shows you how deep this wound is and how badly we don't want to face it. But that'd be fine if we didn't have little people who are getting hurt in the meantime.
Right.
But they are.
So in your journey, and this, I don't know, this may be too personal, but you've gone through this process that you got to the point where you did your outcry, you've mm-hmm. written this book, and then now you have chosen to continue on to try to help.
Yeah. So
personally, JoDee, it almost makes me cry just thinking, how do you compartmentalize? How do you, are you fully healed? Or is this process to help others an ongoing healing process? Or is it just setting your own feelings aside because you just see the bigger issue and like, you know, hell hath no fury as a woman who is going to get something done and make a change.
Yeah.
Like personally, like I don't know how you do it. Where do you fall down?
Well, you know, because I don't have that wound on the inside that I'm running from, I'm fully integrated, and I'm always in a state of, I don't even know what to call it. I'm just very, this is my subject matter, and I never turn it off.
It's your journey.
Yeah.
It is. It's my purpose. It's literally, this is why I'm on this planet, is to carry this in such a way that
It helps others.
it helps others. And yeah, it has been very hard. It has, but it's not hard anymore because I see there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and I couldn't see it for a very long time.
Yeah.
I love that.
But we
What
can
you're
heal.
doing is just
We can.
Okay, so now
There's hope.
Let me ask you a question. Prior to you getting to this point where you are like, all right, I'm sharing it. Like I'm gonna find that safe witness. I'm gonna tell my story. Even prior to that, you were still giving back and doing and serving. So, like JoDee, how did you do that when you hadn't even shared your own story?
That is one of the most interesting things about my life. Is it really shows what the human psyche is capable of. You know, that you can basically have a parallel existence. The fact that, I mean, when I talk about it, I would say I was in a long-term disassociative state where I had all of this on the one side, you know, and locked in a file cabinet in the back of my mind. But then I was also talking to myself through my work, saying things to children like, you are so brave. What you're doing is so important. You are saving other children. And I heard it inside, but it wasn't. It was to me and it wasn't to me. So I think it's really a powerful story of, you know, what we're capable of doing, because it's really hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, most definitely. That you were actually doing the work that you needed.
Yes.
I mean, that's
I
good.
know.
For years. That's what you were
know.
doing. And then these different paths that you went down that didn't pan out the way that they needed, like that was like God's plan. It wasn't meant for you to go down that path.
Right.
You were supposed to be over here,
Yeah.
saving the world.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry to put that on
Yeah,
you.
it's cool.
Like,
It's cool.
really,
You know, I call it
That's
doing your Jesus.
Yes.
I mean, you know, you just get to the point where you're like, yeah, all right, I'll do this. You know, clearly I can't escape it. I've tried to escape it, and every single time, you know, I talked about this in our last episode. I was interviewing at JP Morgan to be a private banker. Like, I don't know anything about finance. I don't even balance my own checkbook. Like, I don't know anything about money. And I was like, but I'm great with people, so sure, I'll do it. And then, you know, I get the call. Do you want to come and be the chief of crimes against children and, you know, save the kids? And I'm like, deal.
Yes.
You know, I gave it no thought. It was a terrible fit.
But
So
it got you to where you.
it did.
It's set in
It
motion.
did.
It's set in motion.
Sure did.
All the things that weren't happening there, even at a court level, that are so basic that were not happening.
Yeah.
I think that was just, even though you had, you know, disassociated and you were over here doing your thing, and your little girl and you was doing this, that was just too much. It was too much. That's when your mind finally started to work to reconcile it.
Yeah. It all came together really with the book. The book is my outcry, you know, and my publisher is my outcry witness.
Yes.
And I don't want to call her a ghostwriter. She's my collaborator. She's like Amy Wallace was to Virginia Giuffre. Her name is Allie Anderson. And so I hired her to help me with this because I had stacks of journals, you know, stuff that I'd written when I was a prosecutor before and stuff that I'd written, you know, at various points. I mean, just this tall of journals. And so I, you know, sorting through all that and not putting too much, and, you know, she really helped me a lot. So I actually, you know, named her as, you know, she was my outcry witness as well as my publisher. Go big or go home.
That was a stranger. That was a stranger.
I haven't met her in person.
that was
That's
probably
crazy. Yeah, we got to get you guys together.
I know,
I want
I
to
know.
be there.
I know.
We're here. I know.
She's in Nashville, and she's a specialist in trauma writing.
Let's
So,
go to Nashville.
I know, right?
Let's just us go to
Us
Yes,
go.
exactly.
Let's just go.
April lived in Nashville
Yeah.
for a long
Oh,
time.
Yeah.
we could all circle the wagons
It would be
and
great.
Yeah.
It'd be
do
great.
everything, do a recording there.
Exactly.
I mean, that's fun. On the spot
Mhm.
is
Really fun.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me kind of ask you how, in the law, in dealing with personal injury and trauma, right, which is something that you've done all of your life. How do you help the people that work with you to be that person, that witness to so much trauma that we see every day? Because that secondary trauma we talk about, that when you're hearing somebody else tell their story, and it's so difficult, right? It's so difficult for them to get through it. Most people don't even file lawsuits because they can't imagine having to sit there and tell this story that they had to live over, over and over again. So how can we help the people that are those witnesses, are those people that hear those stories on a daily basis? Because the reason I ask is because my daughter worked for us for a summer. And she was doing intakes, and she was hearing these people's stories every day and looking at these, photographs of all of these horrific injuries and wounds, and it really traumatized her.
Wow.
So I feel like, is there any way that you can guide us to kind of helping people that hear those stories over and over?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. I was thinking this morning that I should put together a module or a course for lawyers who work in I have a case. A student was sexually assaulted by her special needs teacher, and I have an excellent, local counsel that I'm linking up with who is a warrior. I'm so excited to be working with Will Adams. He was the TTLA president, and so
Will is one of the coolest guys.
So cool. And you're like, okay. So there's this whole other way that you can be awesome. And how do I teach you, the language, the verbiage? Because you have to understand this person is living with an injury. Like if the client seems closed off or doesn't want to talk, or I don't think I can get them on the stand, or they can't survive the deposition. Like,
you're not doing your job.
Hold up.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot more going on here than meets the eye. Like this person is frozen. Like they're able to make it far enough here to contact you, but and maybe it's through hiring, a specialist or, a case acquisition group, like a Case for Women. I love Susan Jones Knappe. And they do a great job at doing trauma-informed intake, but understanding that what we see presenting from the client in this process it's no different from a broken leg, except you just can't see it. Like they may as well be wearing a neck brace or, a cast on their leg. Like we need to understand that it's a permanent injury
Forever.
as long as, until you heal.
Right.
Like you can be free. You can, be like me. Be like me. So long as, you see the path and there's a method, and that's what this whole thing is about.
Giving people the tools to
100%.
just get started.
Yeah.
And then just walking, continue to walk through that journey, having the courage to walk through it and hold that person's hand to kind of take them through it as they're ready.
And you're crossing over as a lawyer. We tend to see ourselves, we put ourselves in a box, which I have not done, which is why I've been able to have these powerful experiences with clients, with victims, with witnesses. I mean, everyone I've worked with tells me something horrible that's happened to them. And, lawyers are really uniquely positioned to have these moments with people because we're not bound by the same regulations as the mental health professionals, doctors. We have a lot of flexibility, and we can use it to advance the healing of the person that we're with. Because let's face it, the legal system does not provide certainty.
No.
And it's a big risk, and it's a huge sacrifice this person's taking really to obtain just a modicum of accountability and to protect others. And so we have to figure out another upside to the process, because as it is right now, it's hard to sell.
Yeah. Because you're living in that trauma every day. You are living in that trauma every day. And how do we how do we let them get to the point where they can tell that
Yeah.
story so it's impactful, not only on
Right.
the jurors, but on other people.
Right.
So, there's just so much that we want to talk about. Will you come back again?
Of course.
Will
Of
you come back
course.
again?
I'm here for you anytime.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
And the book's coming out soon.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So where can they get the book?
Yeah.
Where can they track you down?
Not hard.
All the things.
Not hard. So the book is available now on Amazon. It ships April 7th. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Texas A&M University Press, and Terra Bang Books is a local seller, and my launch party will be there on
Oh.
April the 8th at
We'll
6
be
p.m.
there.
Really? Yay.
Yes. I need to sell 35 copies.
Oh,
so.
we got you.
Oh, yeah.
We got you.
Yeah. So I'm super excited. And then, hopefully I'll be able to do a good amount of press nationally to talk about the book. I mean, it is coming along at just the right time.
I love
It
it.
is shocking the way it's all lined up with,
Mhm.
the horrors of the Epstein files and Giselle Pellico's case and Virginia Giuffre. I call her Saint Virginia. I can't even.
It's the North Star. It's your
I
North
mean,
Star.
what she has done for us.
Yeah.
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 So.
I love
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities to find the book, and I probably will not ever stop preaching this gospel.
it. You better not.
Thankfully.
You better not. You're the right one.
It has been wonderful. If you have questions, comments, comment below. Email us at hello@ladiesinlaw.com. We will have JoDee on again. Her book's coming out. Go buy it, share it, buy a bunch of copies because it's important.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.